Hello and welcome back to part 4, and I want to really start adding some detail and building a few things actually now to start getting this into a real looking scene. So I've got a few things, I'm just going to go through them with you, what I've purchased, and see what I've got. Well, I've got quite a lot of stuff ready for all the detailing. So I've got some fencing that's going to go along the back of the layout. That's really fine, so I'm going to have to be very careful on that and to see if I can get that without damaging it. I'll need to spray those up. I've got some 2 clamp railings that's going to go just in front of where the points are, so I'll need to get those sprayed up in yellow. I do have some 20-foot Freightliner containers. These are all from Model Railway Scenery, so these should be quite nice and simple to build. I did get myself a little container wagon, second hand. A little bit of damage on it. I mean, the seller said it was as new, but I noticed there was a little bit, but I'm not too fussed, you know. Really nice, being perfect. So I do have to go with the containers, I got these from the Engage models, and these are the forklifts for the container, and I've got a couple of those, so they should work quite nice with those 20-foot containers that I've got. We've got some factory workers from Graham Farish Backman ones, and I've got some Woodland Scenic workers with forklift, so should give you plenty of sort of interest in the layout. I've got some porter cabins, a couple of those, and these are sort of 3D printed ones. Not sure what the quality of those are going to be like. Doesn't feel like they've got a window, so might have to do a little bit of work getting those up to spec. I've got my buffer stops that I do need to make. I've got these as well. These are sort of the just some lorry sort of bodies for the trailers for the containers. I thought they all look quite good. They're just 3D printed, so I'll need to get those sprayed up and painted. Got some steps for around the engine shed and things like that that's ready to go. There's a depot hoist crane. Not sure whether I'm going to use these. I bought it quite a long time ago for another layout and never used it then. I just thought it looked a bit too chunky for Engage, but I'm going to put it together, give it a spray up, and just see what it actually does look like. You know, a few barrels that I have from leftover layout. I do have a container lorry, and I've got my PECO shed that I need to just do a bit of tidying up on. Do a bit of weathering on it, get that to look a little bit better. And I do have another shed for there, and that's one of these. I did get this second hand. It's quite cheap. I realised that they're actually quite cheap new as well now. And I wasn't sure whether to use this on the layout or not yet, whether to just build something. But I'll see how I go, you know. So I was thinking of using that somewhere round about there sort of thing, and then using these sort of these depot pieces just in front of it or something like that. And I wasn't sure, you know, I may build something, I may not, you know, it depends on how I feel, but that does look quite good there. So I'm going to make a start, and I think the first thing I want to do is get the buffer stops built, painted up on the layout. While I'm painting them, I'll paint these in yellow, bit of weathering on them, and I'll get the tube clamp rails in painted as well while I do that, and then I can start getting those in place. And I think that's really, oh, one more thing I forgot to say. For the backdrop, I've decided to use, so it still looks like the PECO plan, I've used these ID Backscenes, and it's like tall trees, and that should go along the back there quite nicely. The fence in front of it, and then I can then put a few bushes or a few trees. On that corner I can do a few trees and things like that. How the PECO plan is. So I'm not sticking to the plan completely because they put a wall around the back. Want to put a fence so you can see through it and then see the back scene, and then add a little bit extra 3D detail before you get to the back scene. So, but I think that should be enough. I think that's plenty to go on this small layout. So let's make a start, and I'll get the buffer stops built, and then I'm going to build the containers. Right, let's have a look at these buffer stops. They should be relatively easy to build. I've not built these for a while actually, so do you get some instructions if you've forgotten, which I have, so I'm going to have a quick look. Don't need to really read it. Right, that seems simple enough. Let's get them the right way around. I think on reflection I should have bought the West Hill Wagon Works ones, but let's just see how these look. I'm going to have to chop little pieces off because obviously they would fit around the rails. Don't really even need gluing. This is quite good in without glue. Might put a drop of glue on there. Once I've sprayed them up and fitted them to the layout, I can really see how they are going to look more than anything. They're not bad. I think I will cut the lamp off because it's a modern layout, and really this is designed for more of a steam era. Probably best actually just taking it apart. Cut that off. And I am going to just put a drop of glue just to hold them together. A bit of super glue and a bit of plastic there. See how much I can get on my hands. Right, I'm going to do exactly the same with the other one, and then get these painted. Well, now time to just finish these off. I've been just spraying the hoist all black and the motor black. That will then go yellow. I've done it black on purpose to try and so it's a dark yellow, a dirty looking yellow. And I just need to trim off. I've already done that on one of these buffers, which have trimmed the little bits off the bottom that go around the actual track. As my track's embedded in, I can't do that, so I need to just cut these off. And then these will just sit right on the track itself. So that should sit nicely on the track. So I need to get these painted in yellow. So I'm going to just use the same piece of card, because I'm going to spray this all in yellow anyway. So just putting a bit of Pritt stick on helps stick them down while I'm just spraying. So I'll leave them. Ooh, I'll put that one upside down. How do I? Wasn't even concentrating there. Doesn't seem to be sticking that well, but hopefully the glue on that will affect the paint. But I just let that glue dry, and then I'm just going to get them all sprayed yellow. I don't need that motor on there. I need to just paint underneath where I couldn't get the black. I manually do that. I also want to spray these all in yellow as well. So these are the like the safety railings. So that's a nice easy one to sort of spray. It's easier to spray it while they're still on the well, you can't really call it sprue because it's card, but it's that's the same thing. And it will come out at some point, maybe. There we go. So need to just spray them in both sides. Then I just laser cut. It says there just use acrylic paint or anything. I'm using just a gloss paint that I got from Halfords, and just to dull it off, I'll put some matte lacquer over the top if I don't like the gloss look. But I'm going to try and do a little bit of weathering as well, you know, especially on the buffers and this. Well, that's the buffers all finished off. I put a little bit of rust spots all on where the rivets are, just using one of the MIG colours, and this is Old Rust, and it's a MIG 0042. And I've also painted all the chassis of these container lorries, and I painted then the wheels in black, and I put a slight bit of rust on there. So wasn't sure whether to do both of these, but I'm going to I mean, if a container's sitting on there, you're not going to see it anyway, but I think we're worth doing that one as well. I've painted all the railings there, so they're the safety railings all in yellow. I'm not going to dirty them up too much or anything like that. I've also painted all the railings that will go around the outside of the depot. They're all in silver, like galvanized steel, so they should look all right. So I've got plenty of that to use. May not use it all. And I've got these little cabins that I want to just have a look at. It does come with some glazing inside actually. So what you get is something you can't get out. There we go. You get a piece of glazing that we can cut to the right sizes, put those in, and a door. It doesn't really fit that well. So, but that's okay. And what I want to try and do on this is, I just want to paint these jack legs in black. That's the plan. A bit of a pattern on the roof. But if you know these, they've got like usually a texture on the roof. So I did think about trying to do that. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it because ballast is just going to be too strong. So I might actually just try and just use a texture sheet and just see how that looks. I'm just going to mask these sides up. I don't want the paint to get. I'm going to paint all inside of these because I want to put lights in and I don't want the light to bleed through. What's that? Issue with the printing. So I'm going to mask all of these up, just the same as that, and I'm just going to use a little brush and just brush the black on. But knowing me, I get it. I can use the brush, and then you just happen to just knock your arm, and then you're straight over the edge. So I'm going to just use it like that. I'm not going to spray them or anything like that because you'll get some paint bleed. Guarantee it. It's only standard masking tape. It's not actually for lining and things like that. So I'm not going to carry on spraying or anything, so I'll just drop those bits in there just for the time being, and I'll mask these two up, and I'll get these painted. Let's have a quick look at see how these came out then. Hopefully I didn't get any paint bleed. Now it's all dried. That's not bad. Got the masking tape stuck. Yeah, that's okay. So no major paint bleed or anything like that. So what I do need to do next is paint all the inside black before I put the glazing in and the doors. So I want to light these up. So I like lights in buildings, and I do always like adding lights onto layouts. I think it just makes the layout come to life. And if I put a light in that, it's just going to shine straight through this plastic and look totally unreal. So, but yeah, I mean, they're not too bad. Oh, there we go. So they're not too bad. I've also, because I wasn't sure whether they would be okay, and I bought some more from another company that was doing some 3D printing ones as well, and they come in all the pieces, and they do come as jack legs are printed, and these are like a stackable unit. So obviously I've got the doors and windows to put in yet, but then they'll be stacked like that, and then there'll be some steps coming up. So that will be a nice addition as well, different colour, and they are actually slightly taller. So, and I've got a single one as well, and they come with all the glazing, and what you get is you get the ladders. You've got to put it all together. You know, it's not difficult, it's just quite small. I think that was from this CB Models. So there were quite a few other sorts of things, and I was looking at that hoist, but I'd already got that hoist that I was doing. So but yeah, let me just get the black paint. I'm going to paint all the insides of these, then get the windows in, the glazing, and then have a look at what they look like once they're finished. Right, I've just added all the fencing in at the back there. Just got to let all this glue dry. I put my buffer stops on. The fencing is quite fine actually. It takes a little bit of cutting out, and I've got all my sort of fencing around where the points are and where the ballasted track is to stop any vehicles coming across. I've got the crane that I painted up, and I wasn't sure whether to use this or not, but I think it actually looks quite good, and I think a good location sort of there, you know, so I think that might be quite usable. I've started to do a little bit on this building now. I've tried tidying it up as much as I can. Some of the glue marks that was on the roof I've painted in grey to sort of blend that in, and then I'll use some lacquer over the top, but as you can see there's still quite a few little bits of gaps and things like that. So I've taken the doors off on where the locos would run on. It just gives that a little bit more space. Okay, it's not totally perfect, and on the inside I'm going to put some, just where I do have some gaps, I'm just going to use the hot glue and then paint them in black. You won't really see that because you won't be looking inside the building, and obviously it's not going to go just on the layout there, but I want this to be removable, so I'm going to need to put in, because I want the building lit up, so I'm going to need to put in the light in onto the board itself. So I'm going to have to work that out on how I'm going to do that. So, but it's looking better. So one of the things I want to do, I want to have lights in these buildings, but I want to be able to just take the buildings off. And that's going to be really difficult to put some lights inside. And have just the wires sort of loose. So I'm thinking about using some little lights, engaged street lights, and I've got quite a few. I was going to put these along the back wall as a sort of a bit of lighting for the layout, and I'm thinking that if I put these inside the building itself, and then I can just drop the building onto the layout, so probably that way round, actually the door there, and then it means that I can just lift the buildings off, transporting the layout or cleaning the tracks. So that's my plan. So I really need to get these in a really exact place. And knocked some railing there. So, and on this one it's not so bad because I've got quite a big space behind sort of here, but I don't want to sort of put them. So if you didn't want to use the building, say, or you want to use something different, then you're going to end up with holes in the board. So I'm going to put them quite close to sort of the rail, to the edge, I think. As close to the edge as I can, but I've got a batten along there, so I can't put too close. So I'm going to just mark, I think I'm just going to put 2 lights in that building and 2 lights in this building. I think that would be enough, really. So I'm going to get these marked in. I could do with like a pencil or something like that, but I'm trying to centre that. So just going to look down and just see if I can just see the centre, the lines there. And I put I think get one there. One somewhere around there. So I've got an idea. Can't quite see the other one. I've got some sort of idea of where to put those, and they will sit, and I can push them through the board a little bit more anyway, and even if you wasn't using it with a shed, they still wouldn't look actually that odd. You could even swivel them that way round to be on the road system. So I'm going to drill some of the holes there, get these in. So they're very fine, so I'll just get me a nice fine drill bit. Right, just checking the height there. Oh, I leaned on my fence then. Oh, don't want to damage that. I've only got one piece left. So be careful. So yeah, I mean that's the right height. I just need to make sure that I put these lamps at the same height. Because if you ever want to run it without the buildings, I mean, it still looks alright. I mean, you could still have this building type on here if you wanted to. So if you didn't want the PECO one, you could have this one as well. You know, so you'd have a choice. So you could actually turn this into more of a depot rather than a container yard. So, but for the moment, it's just going to go with this and the perfect height in there. The only worry I've got is there's a little bit of a slight wobbliness, so I need to work out, it seems to be flexing on this part here, so I might just file that down a little bit. It doesn't mean that the this isn't straight. It means probably some of my plaster that I actually did. But going to get these all to the right height and then glued in. Hi, for one of the buildings on the layout, I don't want too many. I decided to get one of this Bachmann Farish models, and this is the shunter's mess room. Would normally be used on sort of a more of a sort of traction maintenance depot, but I thought it looked reasonable to actually use on this. So, although the problem is with these resin buildings, they are very see-through. So, if you get a torch, and you'll see loads of light bleed coming through there. And and this is always a major problem when you're putting lights in. So you have to really just paint them black. So I'm going to do that now. I've just got some black acrylic paint. I'm just going to paint all the inside of that. Might have to do 2 coats, or I don't really want to do one really thick coat because it would take too long to dry. And then once I've done that, I'm going to do the torch test and just see if that is blocking it before I put the lights in. I also want to put some lights on the back of this, but I've got some battens along the back, so I'm going to have to drill through all the batten and then drill through the side so I can put the wire like that through. So that's going to be a little bit more interesting. I never really thought about that, you know. I could have probably moved the layout a little bit further forward, and then could have put the fence a little bit further forward then, and just had a little bit more waste at the back. But can't do that now. And sometimes when you're planning these, I wasn't really thinking 100% where all the lights was going to go, but I'm going to get all them in now. So the idea, I needed to get this, and it was on order, just arrived today. Now I can start to put some lights in, so I just want to put a few lights in the background there. So I think I'll just put probably 3 along this back. Might put another one just on the side there or something like that, you know. But now I've got an idea of exactly where all this is going to go. Right, as the glue is drying, I thought I'd start on these backdrops. Now this should be relatively easy this time. Shouldn't have been any joints or anything like that. Okay. Now it should just be one piece that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to separate them. There we go. Roll that one back up, put that in a tube for another layout. And what I do have, I should be able to make it just a bit above the top, I think, like that. That should look okay. So, and should have plenty to do without a join in it, so won't look that bad. I'm just going to mark measure the board and just mark a line all the way across. So I need to go just below that line with this. So I've got the grass texture there and the grass texture behind that fence that I put. And that'll work. So I'm just going to get that marked and measured. Right, what I've done is I've put a line along the bottom, and that's exactly where I want the to line the end of the backscene to. That should then come to about here on the board, so it gives me this little bit of grass in between before you get to the trees. That's the idea of it. And I'm using my backscene glue. I need my brush. So where have I put that? My brush. And really I'm just going to make a start. I'm going to add a little bit extra onto the end, so you're chopping that white piece off there. And then trim all these up afterwards. So in the past I've used too much glue. I'm using an old cutting mat, and I've actually sealed all these in this time. Last time I did this I forgot to seal them in. So if it's straight on the board I should have put some PVA glue on it, but I've actually put some magnolia paint on here. So I was going to just have the background in sort of the magnolia colour, but I think the backdrop actually sort of makes the layout. Right, and that's absolutely loads on there, don't need that much. And I'm going to make sure my hands are nice and clean as well this time. So I need to just move this out of the way, this piece. So I've got plenty of space to work on. And really, I am doing it upside down to the camera, but it's the right way for me because it's a lot easier. So I just need to line up at the bottom. Right, now I need to just flip this over, because I do need to cut down there. I've got a really nice sharp blade. And there we go. First piece on, and no glue finger marks on it. So I'm going to leave that to dry before I trim any of the other edges off, and then I'm going to get this on the other board, and I can show you what this looks like on the layout. Well, that's all the backboards now on. There's a few creases just come in slightly. They should all go out once it's all dry. Takes quite a few hours to dry. I like to leave these overnight. Don't want to just keep touching and messing, because I will put a bit of glue on one of these, guarantee it, if I just keep. So I'm going to wait until tomorrow, then see how they look on the layout. Should look fine, I think. Right, that's the backdrops fitted. I don't think they look too bad actually. Right, I need to start getting some lights wired up now. Now I can flip it onto its back. And when I was trying to do these lights, obviously I wanted them about here, so you can see the hole that came through. And I've had to create a hole all the way through and then push the wire from the back. So I can then wire it. Obviously I can't go out the top there and then come down, because they would just get caught and ripped off. But this is when you want to put some lights right on the edge. It always does come a little bit difficult when you've got battens on there. So that's how I sort of worked that out. So I've got to extend these wires because they need to go over to this lighting bus. So I'm not sure whether to just put a copper strip along here and then just bridge that copper and then a couple of wires. Right, I've decided instead of just extending these wires, I am going to just put a little bit of extra copper bustle on here, and then join that copper bustle to the main one. Just so it'd be a lot easier to do that way. I'm still going to have to extend one or two of these wires, but I should get away with the majority of it like this. And also these lights are 3-volt ones, so I need to make sure that I have got the resistors on there. And these wires should just strip nice and easy. Don't want to pull too hard. There we go. And where's my solder? Here we are. And the resistors. Might not be the easiest thing, well, to see on this video because it's sort of hidden a little bit. Trim that resistor back. Make sure the wires can't get damaged. And then I need to do a join from there to there as well with a small bit of wire. I think that is definitely the easiest way of connecting these without doing all extensions. just join that. Which one is the positive on this? So it is the one. I purposely made these as short as I can, so it's sits a bit flush on the board. That's the bus wire connected. Yeah, I'd got that right. I was just double checking there. Right, that's all that lighting circuit done. Some of it isn't quite the neatest. I've had to just put some insulating tape just to protect the and those wires just wasn't going to quite reach, so I'm going to need to secure these down so they don't get pulled out, but it's okay. It's not the neatest that I've done any lighting, so but I'm okay with that. So I'm going to give it a quick test, just make sure I have got everything wired up on just on the battery, and just drop that onto the copper. And we should have everything lit up, and yeah, so everything is working. Just off that battery. So that's the night mode, and I did say I wanted to do a day mode as well, so what I have done so this will go along the front there, and this will provide the lighting from above. So this will become the day mode, and it's just on a wire that's going to come out. So if that sits in there, then it's just going to go down to a connector just over there. So alright, so that's all that now done. So we have a day mode, which is really bright. Perhaps I didn't need to put two lots in there. And I've got night mode, so I'll just turn that light off. That gives a good effect. And I've put the buildings in place. So it allows you to remove the buildings, keep the track clean. The only concern I've got is there's a little bit of light bleed on the bottom there, so I might have to work out how to fix that. Small bit of card on the bottom of it, but that's not too bad. And you get the hook there. And you get a nice effect, and that does look quite good. Maybe I could have just used one set of strips underneath, but you know, they're lighting up quite nice. Alright, I've got plenty of things to add on. I did make these. I'm not sure they're coming out that well with the lights, but I wasn't sure whether to use these portable cabins. I didn't do a fantastic job of making that one. I put all lights in and everything like that ready. And then I had these ones as well, and I put lights in these, painted them up. But I don't think they really complement the layout that well. I was going to put like one of these sort of round here or something like that, you know, and then another one sort of back, sort of round here like this. But I just don't think they really complement the layout as they should really. So I decided not to use them at all now. But I do have some containers, lorry, you know, trailers. I've made the Freightliner. I think, and they don't look too bad. So they're going to get sort of positioned in a, you know, sort of a parked up place. More like that. And I've got a forklift lifting just one more container up there, and I've got my container lorry, and I can move these around wherever they're sort of more suitable. I do have a second container lift, but I don't think I need to really use that. So, and I think I'm just going to use these workers with a forklift. I think they might work all right. I'm not sure if I need to use all of the factory workers there. So, and I've got a little transit van that I want to just have parked up somewhere. So I'm just going to get these out on the layout, try a few different locations, get them in, and just see what works. Okay, this is about the finished scene. So I've added some detail into the layout. Some locos are running on it. And it's a perfect layout for a couple of locos, really. Okay, that's getting close. Some bits need a little bit more tidying up and fettling a little bit. And that was in its daylight mode, so if I just drop this down and then sort of get a view of sort of a nighttime mode. Yeah, I'd like to say thank you for watching. me just get this okay running. I'd like to say thank you for watching this series. It's been a nice little build, this one. About 4 weeks to build, so very quick layout really. Reasonable amount of detail on there. Obviously I could add a lot more if I wanted to, but it's starting to get a little bit crowded. I think that's about enough detail and enough with the loco interest as well. So my locos aren't running the best at the moment. I think they need a proper run in on a nice oval track, so I think that would make it run a lot smoother and better. But it seems to be quite nice. I've got a class 50 and a class 66 on the layout at the moment, so and I can't really see because I'm not quite the right angle, so I'm just trying to see it on the screen of the camera. So anyway, thank you for watching. Hopefully I will see you on the next one, and have a good evening or a good rest of the day, and take care.